While the body handler was dealing with a corpse, something terrifying suddenly happened. He merely turned around to take a sip of alcohol, but when he turned back, he saw that the corpse, which had been facing away from him, was now facing him instead. He repeated the same movement again, thinking it was just an illusion caused by drinking too much. But then the corpse suddenly opened its eyes. He thought he really had drunk too much, wiped the cold sweat from his face, and covered the corpse's eyes with a towel. At that moment, his tablet suddenly turned on by itself and began playing a comic story. This time, he was truly terrified because the person in the comic was himself, and the story told in the comic was a secret he had hidden for many years. Many years ago, the man's wife could no longer take care of herself. He took care of her for 5 years, but he could no longer endure that kind of life. There was no love left between them, only hatred. One day, his wife really died. The man felt relieved at last. However, he discovered in horror that her eyelids were actually moving. He pressed his ear against her chest and could still hear a heartbeat. Recalling their past life together, he covered his wife's mouth and begged her to let him go. He strangled her to death with his own hands. A drop of blood-red tear flowed from her eye. The man trembled violently in fear. He threw down the tablet and tried to escape, but suddenly, the burned corpse came back to life, staring at him with wide-open eyes, then grabbed the corner of his clothes. The man broke free, but the door suddenly locked itself. A large amount of blood, like his wife's bloody tears, began to flow down the walls. A girl heard his screams. She smashed open the door and rushed inside, but the man mistook the girl for his dead wife and pushed her away violently. At the same time, the girl also witnessed a horrifying scene. Everything was unfolding exactly according to the comic's plot, and I am the author of this horror comic. Every time I finish drawing a story, someone dies exactly according to the plot. That day, I sent the comic to a chief editor. When she saw the content, she was shocked because the female protagonist of the comic was none other than herself. When she was a child, because her mother looked frightening, she was mocked and isolated by her classmates. She hated her mother's ugly appearance, so she scribbled over all of her mother's photos. In her diary, she angrily wrote, "Why don't you just die?" But her mother saw all of this. She was heartbroken and chose to hang herself. The girl happened to witness it. At first, she wanted to rush forward to save her mother, but when she looked up and saw that terrifying face, she changed her mind. She watched her mother struggle in agony until she died right in front of her. When the comic reached this point, the female editor called me, shouting and questioning how I knew her secret. But at that moment, the lights suddenly went out by themselves, and the curtains slowly fell. She picked up a small knife to defend herself, just as she did in the comic. She was extremely frightened, and desperately wanted to escape that eerie room. But when she reached the door, she found it locked. So she screamed wildly for help, yet no one responded. And just as she turned around,